Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good night, wherever you are. This is Professor Patrick Singe live from Greatness University, and have the pleasure to host the Searcherdemic Summit 2021. This is the first ever Searcherdemics Summit hosted by Greatness University, and we are very, very pleased that the United Graduate College and Seminary International, based in the United States, has asked us to host this summit so that we can introduce the world what Searcherdemics is, but at the same time give the world a flavor of what our professors of Searcherdemics are doing around the world. And with me, I have, other than the special guest, His Royal Highness, King Okajeman Amisa the First, also known as Sir Clyde Rivers, who is going to introduce us to this whole new area of expertise. This whole new area that is a philosophy that is transforming the world, but as well transforming lives, just as it has transformed mine. And I'll be sharing with you later on. His Royal Highness, how are you?
Man, Professor Chancellor Basinge, thank you so much for, first of all, the excellent work that you do. Your Greatness University has opened the eyes of the world to greatness. And that is so needed in this day and hour. And I'm very grateful to be a special guest. And man, as we talk about searcherdemics, let me kind of tell you, Chancellor Dr. Michael Pitzel she's the originator of this new narrative, and what it is that the important thing about this is in the world there's 7.8 billion people, and all those people are called to do something unique. And Chancellor Michael has created a philosophy that would possibly allow 7.8 billion people to have access to bring their contribution to the world. And the one thing I want to say, Chancellor Basinge, is right now at the top of the world, all the platforms are open because everything is changing. Everything is changing. The old cookie cutter models that used to work are no longer getting people jobs. So people are looking for alternative ways of learning. Brand new institutions are popping up because every individual is really called to function in their area of passion. Searcherdemics, it allows every individual to actually find that path. And I don't want to go too much into it, but I can tell you the entire world is open. And what they're asking for is teach me to be me so I can help others. And that's what Chancellor Professor Dr. Michael Pitzel has brought to the international, global world of education as the actual 2020 Global Civility Educator of the world. And this is because of this brilliant philosophy that she's created.
Oh, that is amazing. Thanks so much for that introduction and clarification and stressing the importance of searcherdemics, composed of two words, searcherdemics. Just to break it up for our audience, could you just before bringing as well,
Yes,
Professor Michael, could you just
yes.
tell us
What
exactly? Yes.
searcher is is why I love this philosophy so much. Everything great, an individual searches for that information. So everything that exists in the world came from an idea. So
Mm-hmm.
someone had to search an idea and someone had to follow the idea out. So in the philosophy, we're saying the one that creates the concept, that gets the idea, is big enough. They're the ones that when they walk it out, they are really the ones that create the education for what they created. So basically, Dr. Basinge, what our battle is institutions want to box education in. But if you get Greatness University, that was an idea. That idea has now impacted 54 countries of the world. But it was an idea. It didn't come through and I don't want to steal what you're doing in your presentation, but I want to tell you, you are a searcher. So yeah, thank you so much, Doc.
Thank you so much, His Royal Highness. We're very pleased and honored to be with you at this special moment in time. And now we're going to bring on Professor Michael Pitzer, who is going to talk us about Searcherdemics, define it for us, show us where all this idea came from. But before we bring her to the stage, could you introduce Professor Michael to our audience? Because some people might
Yes,
have
we
her
had.
name, but really they don't know what she does behind closed doors.
Yeah, man. Let me tell you this here, Chancellor Michael Pitzel, 2020 Educator of the Year. I mean, for this narrative. She's created a philosophy. She's worked around the world for over 14 or 15 years with evidence and results that this model that she created is working. So she's been in Africa multiple times. She's been around many countries. She's an educator, and she is the chancellor of our United Graduate College and Seminary International. And I'm telling you, people, you're going to be blessed to hear from this amazing woman that's created a new narrative of learning for the entire globe. Thank you, Professor.
Thank you so much. Professor Chancellor Michael Pitzer, welcome to the Searcherdemics Summit. And I guess without you, we wouldn't be having this summit. So how are you?
Wow, I am extra blessed today to be on such a platform as the Greatness TV with you, Professor Bisingay. Thank you so much for hosting. You are evidence and results of why we're here today. And so it's such an honor to be here and to be on this platform with you. And Your Excellence, His Royal Highness, Sir Clyde Rivers, thank you for quite the introduction. I am humbled. Thank you. And you weren't stealing the show. When a new idea comes, we need to hear it over and over, and we need to hear it in different ways. And so when it comes from you, it's unique. And when it comes from me, it's unique. And when it comes from Professor Bisingay, it's unique. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I've had the chance and the pleasure of having, I think, a preview of your upcoming book written, The Birthing of Searcherdemics,
Yes.
God's Education System. What is this? Could you tell us
Absolutely
the process that led to the birthing of Searcherdemics and why you call it God's Education System?
Mm-hmm. Yes. So thank you. You know, it really, the first book about this is the birthing of Searcherdemics. Actually, it's the second book that goes with this model of education. There it is. And I had to call it the birthing of Searcherdemics because this is really the process of how God brought Searcherdemics to be. And I had to call it God's education system because as I wrote it, it really was God showing me the process and walking me through the process. So Searcherdemics is a new education paradigm, and it's a model of education that can reach 7.8 billion people. It can reach every single person in this world. And it's based on the idea that the author and finisher of our faith, Jesus Christ, and the Father, has authored each of us with a unique contribution for this world. And so it's an education system that can reach each of us. It's an education for you, for the individual, and from the God capacity in you. It provides practical, relevant life education, and it's powered by Holy Spirit Educator, what I call Holy Spirit Educator in this model. It's listening and being obedient to the Holy Spirit of God in your life. And the beautiful thing is you don't have to be a believer to have a God capacity in you. You don't have to be a believer of God, but God gives everyone ideas. And if you believe in that idea and you move on it, that's the power. So Searcherdemics is a new education paradigm, and it really is an individualized education plan for every single person in the world.
Oh, that is powerful and beautiful when you say that the Holy Spirit is the educator.
Yes. He's, the scriptures say, the Bible says that he is a guide who will lead us into all truth.
Mm.
And he's the spirit of the creator, of the one who created you. So who better to guide you than the spirit of the one who made you, who knows you best?
Mm-hmm.
And I can speak this way because of experience. It's worked. I've been in the education arena for years, for 20 years now, private and public. And I have seen, part of there's a frustration when you see gaps and you see people fall through the gaps, but you see a value in those people. And I've had evidence and results by following Holy Spirit Educator, and I get good results with everyone that I come encounter with, everyone who chooses to listen and who is hungry to learn. I've had good fruit, good success when I follow Holy Spirit Educator.
Yes, sorry,
That's
Royal
powerful.
Highness. Sorry, boss.
That's powerful. And what where do you see this? Because this is an interruption. It's interrupting old paradigms. What makes this whole paradigm unique?
And I'm going to talk about what you said about an interruption. It's not so much an interruption as a solution. The world is crying out for answers. I mean, the time is right for this, right? Because we have seen our world systems challenged like never before, just because of this global pandemic, for example. And then in the United States, the things that are happening in the United States with racism and things like this, the world is asking for answers on all sides and in between. And so really what it is we're saying, here's a solution, here's an answer to these things. And so what makes it unique, again, is that it can reach anyone. That's what makes it unique. I have never been able to find, and that's always been my frustration as an educator. And I would say to the Holy Spirit, I'd be like, is there a way that we can reach everyone? Is there a way? And looking back over 20 years of experience in education, he goes, this is the way. And he lined it out. And that's where the book Birthing of Searcherdemics came from. He showed me this is the way to reach every single one who is willing. Some people will say, no, thank you. Okay, we're here for you when you're ready. But this can work for everyone. So that's what makes it unique.
It's really good. Mm-hmm. That's good.
Yeah, it is very. And reading one of your chapters in your upcoming book, Searcherdemics, Birthing Searcherdemics, God's Education System, you talk about validation, and that validation coming from God, not from human beings.
Yes.
So this God's education system is having validation from God, and we have other education systems having validation from human beings. How does that change the education landscape out there for the people, bringing this new education system that is directed from God, validated by God, and God is the chancellor to certify everyone who does go through Searcherdemics?
Absolutely. Humanity is starving for validation. And in my personal experience in birthing Searcherdemics, I grew up in a system where I needed to please the system. I needed to please human beings. But I also could hear the Spirit of God say, you don't have to worry about that. follow me and be obedient. And so I have had fruit from both, from following the world system and from following God's system. I've had fruit. And I have to say, the best fruit is today. Today, you're going to meet professors, and they're going to talk about what was the education for them and what did they produce out of that. And it comes from their passion. And so this idea of validation, we believe that we validate God ideas. And what it is, it's really demystifying the idea of faith. At UGCSI and with Searcherdemics, we believe in God ideas first. But my passion is, now let's take those God ideas and let's materialize them. Let's put it into action. We're not just talk. We're not just theory. That's huge in Searcherdemics. You know, I looked up the definition of academics in a dictionary, and one of the definitions is of no practical relevance of theory only. And that's why we created Searcherdemics, because it's different than that. It is practical and it is relevant, and it's not just theory. You'll see action and evidence and results. And so that validation piece is huge. We believe that God's ideas, we validate God ideas. Somebody will come and go, and I go, that's a God idea. That's valid. Now let's develop it.
Amazing. And I'm very happy that you've talked about there are professors out there who have gone through this same system, who have been gone through the Searcherdemics and being validated directly by God. Professors who have been powered by the Holy Spirit Educator and have really mastered this God's education system. And I think is very important for our viewers today, that they're going to have a chance to experience what these professors have gone through. And now we have the great opportunity, His Royal Highness and Professor Pizzo. They are going to talk to one of these great professors about Searcherdemics and how his journey has been, and how he has been able to be guided by the Spirit step by step and develop his expertise and influence as a Searcherdemic. And that is none other than Professor Chris Green.
Yes, Professor Chris Green. Now, Professor Chris Green is one of our vice chancellors at United Graduate College and Seminary International. We've known him and his wife, Professor Carol Green, for years and years. They've worked with us as students. Yeah. They've worked with us as instructors, and now they are vice chancellors. And I have to say that Professor Chris Green is the epitome of the good fruit that comes from practicing Searcherdemic education. And Professor Chris Green is a professor of process. And that is one of the philosophies coined through Searcherdemics. He's a professor of process. And so, Your Excellence, I don't know if you want to say anything.
Yes. If there was a puddle of water and somebody had to walk across it, it's Professor Chris Green. The guy is the best. You will understand, after you hear him share, you will understand why this man is so valuable for the world. Thank you.
Amazing. And I'm going to leave you to take the stage. So Professor Michael Pizzo and His Royal Highness, they're going to be talking to Professor Chris Green about his Searcherdemics journey and how he has been able to live the experience.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you so much for inviting me today. I want to just say, His Royal Highness, Your Excellency, Sir Rivers, thank you so much for this opportunity, not only for today, but for the opportunity to participate in the Searcherdemic process. It absolutely changed our lives. And thank you, Chancellor Pizzo, for how you have just guided us, even challenged us sometimes, because Searcherdemics it's so different from how we've all been processed through life. For me, the Searcherdemic, the way it impacted me as an individual, I think of, I guess it's more like asking this question: what if your country's education system does not speak to what God put within you?
Wow.
Yeah. I remember when I started both secondary and higher education, that when it was time to choose the area that I wanted to study, I had to try to find something that was close to what was in my heart. And then you go through the academic process. So glad you gave that definition, because it's, theory, not practical. But people like me, I'm needing something practical, because God's giving me something different. When I was thinking about what I felt like God was calling me to do, when I would look at brochures and curriculum, and college majors, nothing spoke to what was in me. So I found myself adjusting, compromising, and trying to fit into the mold of the institution, or even sometimes even the personal preference of a professor in order to make the grade, or to get the mark of approval, or for someone to say, okay, now you're proficient, or now you're academically prepared and you're qualified to do this thing that's in your heart. And the frustration is, I could have the degree or the certification, but I know deep in my heart of hearts, I know how to mimic what you've taught me, but you haven't given me what I needed to fulfill what God put in my heart. And so Searcherdemics, and pardon me because I get very emotional about this, because it's so revolutionized my life. Searcherdemics, it didn't force me to change who I was. I didn't have to adjust my thinking style. I didn't have to compromise the innovative ideas that were coming to me. And Searcherdemics didn't frown upon the thoughts that were being given to me by God. It didn't force me to earn a certification or a degree in something that wasn't going to allow me to be who God created me to be. So Searcherdemics, it validated my God-given ideas and solutions, and the narratives and the methodologies and the philosophies that I was writing them and I was articulating them. But you feel sometimes like you're crazy, because it's as if the book doesn't say that, the program doesn't say that, the system doesn't say that. How frustrating it is for many who have grown up in all of the nations of the world through education systems, where we walked across the stage or we received a diploma, and then you're asking yourself the next day, what am I supposed to do?
Wow. Exactly. Wow.
And when you walk out of Searcherdemics, you really never walk out of it, but every part of it is equipping you. It's as if though someone sits you down and says, instead of me giving you my program and my curriculum and my doctoral program or my bachelor degree program and saying you have to meet all of these qualifications, Searcherdemics says, who are you? Let's find out who you are. And now we're going to build programs and projects and a system to equip you to do what God put in your heart to do.
Very good.
Yes.
Isn't that amazing?
Very good. That's very good. That's very good. Dr. Chris, if you don't mind me, so this is one of the first, would you agree, this is one of the first education systems that educates you about you?
Yes,
because what I've seen is this. I've seen from day one, you're being talked into another mind.
Yes.
And as you're able to conform to the other mind by answering the question, taking the exam, and it tells you you're smart. But are you really smart? Or are you really the best copy?
Cool.
And that's what I love about Searcherdemics. What are your thoughts on that, Vice Chancellor Green?
I found it, and even now as an educator, now as a Searcherdemic educator, I find that it is extremely important that we recognize that we're being pulled away from, let me put it to you this way. Searcherdemics returned us to the pivotal moment in the Garden of Eden, when mankind chose the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil instead of the sure voice of God.
Oh,
Man was given his first educational test. And instead of saying, I'm going to wait until, because the Bible says that God would meet with man at the end of the day in the cool of the day. So instead of saying, I'm going to wait and get God's view on what I'm being told.
Yes.
I'm going to step back and wait till I have my usual evening meeting with God before I try to partake of this fruit of the knowledge of good and evil, which is really this. I'm going to try to figure things out on my own.
Exactly.
And we're going to put in a system to try to validate my own thoughts.
Yep. Wow, you nailed it on the head there. Wow.
And so we've been called to, Searcherdemic says, let's go back to waiting to hear God's voice, God's ideas. Because he had already told man, take dominion, be fruitful, multiply. And then all of a sudden you get this other view that comes in that says, figure it out on your own. And there's no, I'm going back. Searcherdemic says, let's go back to the originator. And because I didn't call you, I wasn't releasing mankind to be copies and mimics of one another. Right. I'm an infinite God, and every single soul that's birthed is another expression of who I am. So I don't need any copies. I'm infinite.
Wow.
And so when you guys started mimicking one another and copying one another, then you're not releasing all these different aspects and expressions of who I am.
Wow.
So that's what it has meant for me. It's been about listening to his voice and getting back to that and releasing that in the world.
So with that, what have you released? What is Professor Christopher Green? What has God put in you that you've released? And then you have to talk to us about your evidence and results, because remember, we're not just theory.
Yes.
Who are you and what have you created with this revelation in the system?
With this revelation, my wife and I started something that we really call STEP. And STEP is an acronym that means success through experience and process. So much so that we've even launched an institution, and it is accredited by United Graduate College and Seminary International. And it is totally founded on the Searcherdemic education model. We help searchers recognize and understand what we call the ongoing 4 seasons of growth and process. And those 4 seasons are just like the natural 4 seasons: autumn, winter, spring, and summer. And in the autumn is the time where you're shedding those things that you can't carry into your next growth cycle. Autumn isn't a bad thing. It's a great thing. And then you move into the winter, and winter is the season, even in the natural, when the trees have shed their leaves, and the trees begin to focus their energy on their roots instead of the branches. And the roots actually go deeper in the winter to make that tree sturdier and stronger, so that when we get to the spring season, when new fruit is coming forth, those branches will be stronger and able to bear the weight and load of more fruit from last year. Isn't that amazing?
That's really good.
And then you come into the summer season, and that's where you're watching the things that God told you to do. They're coming forth and they're being released, but that's a time where we're called for proper stewardship. And so I'm sharing all that to say, we realize out of our discipline, which really took 40 years to develop. And we came across UGCSI, which introduced us to Searcherdemics, and we began to realize that many people need to, if they just understood where they were in their process, that would give them a greater understanding and perspective of what God's doing in their life. So that you don't see seasons as either good or bad, positive or negative. No, it's just a necessary part of my growth. And then along with understanding your 4 seasons, we help all of our searchers to understand what we call key markers or elements of their process, indicators of your process. And those elements, I'll just state them real quickly here. They are having discernment, and that's knowing the difference between chasing a fantasy and following a dream. Getting direction, don't lean on your own understanding. Getting discipline, diligence, determination, devotion, documentation, which is basically keeping a journal, a record of what you're doing, and collecting that data to prove the proof. And then the final is duplication, that in success isn't success unless you have a successor. So don't let it die with you. And so all of that is part of is the unique discipline. In other words, we actually train people in coaching, but within that coaching, there's a process. We're not just walking people through, here's the information, take the test, and then you're certified as a coach. We require everyone that comes through any one of our certification programs, and we have 5, we require that they are literally immersed in the process. You're not just going to learn what it means to coach someone. We have all of our coaches take on the role of being the coachee, of being the mentee. So you're going to be that person that you're going to one day coach. And we have found that by walking people through process, that it has a greater impact. For instance, we just graduated a class just 2 days ago. And with that class, we have now released 90 life coaches, in 28 organizations, in 7 states across America.
Right on.
Man, Dr. Green, we're going to have you back. Man, Dr. Chris, we can hear you all day. Dr. Green, we will have you back. We'll do a special show. Man, thank you so much for this inspiration. It's fantastic.
Thank you.
So
Thank
good.
you.
My goodness.
You see what I'm talking about? Evidence and results.
Thank you, Professor Green. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, yes, that is powerful. How you can see the power of Searcherdemics. And this was really a very good example to start with on how we can show the world and how Searcherdemics is transforming the world that we're living in our own lifetime. For some of these theories, when they come up, or philosophies, the creators of those philosophies don't see the impact. But now being able to see the impact of this great paradigm that is being created at the United Graduate College and Seminary International, changing lives is phenomenal.
It's great. Wow.
Wow. So I believe next we have Professor Christine Kochick. Yes?
Yes, and now she's going to be talking to us about how this has helped her in our organization, Every Girl Wins.
Yes.
So how is Searcherdemics transforming the gender landscape across the world?
Perfect.
And
let me introduce her and bring her to the stage.
Right.
Dr. Kochick is supposed to be a statistic and not a good one. And as you begin to hear her story about how at age 13, pregnant, and this woman's life was written off. It's supposed to be done. And that's why, as a Searcherdemician, she's someone, her story will open your eyes to the power of what Searcherdemics is. Chancellor Michael, I turn over to you. Thank you, Dr. Kochick.
Welcome, Professor Kochick. How has Searcherdemics in this process impacted your life?
Wow. I think about Searcherdemics, and, I haven't been into it, very long, but I didn't realize that I was a Searcherdemic my whole entire life.
Yes, exactly.
My whole entire life. And, I've said this before to His Royal Highness before, that what I know is God put me through what I went through at a young age, 13 pregnant, 14 married, domestic violence, 3 children, walking away, and just making an incredible life for ourselves. So, but I know I used to think of myself as a victim. Now I know myself as victorious, because if I hadn't been through what I went through, I wouldn't be standing here today doing what I am doing for every girl to win, and to know that it is her right to win.
Wow.
That's and you know what? As our professor said, she was walking through Searcherdemics her whole life, and now there's a package that she understands what she was doing. And Dr. Kochick, where's your organization? What's it doing? And how have you impacted the world?
I started my organization about 2.5, almost 3 years ago. And this is something that I knew that God was meaning for me to do my whole entire life. Because when I would do projects, I still didn't feel it was right. God kept whispering to me, and he kept bringing people in my life like you and Chancellor Michael. I met you, in 2018, both of you. And if anyone has a chance to meet these two amazing individuals, get on their schedule, meet them, because they are absolutely, because my life has not been the same since. It's literally not been the same since. But Every Girl Wins, working with His Royal Highness and Chancellor Michael, it started as an idea. Wow. But again, I had been doing it my whole entire life, not knowing that that's what I've been doing my whole entire life. But our organization is the largest cultural honor in the world, and the largest sustainable life literacy organization in the world. And what we teach these girls, and what we let other people know, that it is her right to sustainable life literacy to create her own economy. Because let's think about this back in when COVID started. There was more people dying from hunger than they were from the COVID. If we taught them sustainable life literacy, such as farming, what they would have been able to do is go, and they would be able to, do their farming. They would be able to do the do the gardens, have the produce, put food on their table. Not only produce for food on their table, but they'd have enough to go make an income for themselves. So that is the part of sustainable life literacy. We have to teach it. Education is great, absolutely. I encourage everyone to get education. But what has to happen, you have to have those two components together. Because was that degree in the University of, let's say, Harvard feeding you? Absolutely not. But that garden, learning how to do that,
really good.
Did.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. Searcherdemics, and I hope everybody sees this, it is for every single person, and it gives a platform which instantly validates an amazing creation, as you've seen here with Professor Kochick. You are valid. What you are doing is changing lives. How many countries are you in, and how many women have you impacted so far?
We are in 21 countries. 21 countries, and we have impacted so many women's lives through sustainable life literacy programs, through just honoring them in our organization, because we honor people that would never been honored before.
You see, if you don't mind me interjecting, and also what Professor Kochick does, through her culture of honor, she honors people that are doing the work. So her culture of honor is establishing a benchmark for other girls in the world. Because many times when you don't have an image that's good, no one knows what's good. Right. So with the culture of honor, I had the privilege to co-host her Every Girl Wins Global Awards. Oh my goodness. You talk about how many people reached. That event probably reached 1 billion people through the different amplification of people passing stuff on, because it's one of the first times in the history of the world where I've seen people that are doing something valid was honored and said, this is good. So what she's doing, she's creating a new benchmark. And it's phenomenal. And again, this woman's life has been Searcherdemics.
And what we did through the awards is we honored 13 youths with a business scholarship that they were doing entrepreneurship. So entrepreneurship through 13 girls through the business scholarship back in March.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. Well, what an honor it is to make a place for you to thrive, because once we give people a place, see, you're pushing this. We didn't have to tell you what to do. We didn't have to get you excited about this. We didn't have to get you moving it. You are a mover, and you are making this a success. And because it's your passion, like you said, it's your life, and it's what you value.
Mm-hmm.
Also, now you're giving back to the world.
Yes.
And that's key in the Searcherdemic model. This will build you. It will give you value. It will make you successful, but you will also see good fruit giving back to the world.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly
Yes.
what we see when we look at you. You are giving. Go ahead.
Absolutely.
And you see one of the great things is the evidence and results is she's empowering 21 other institutions.
Wow.
Yes.
21 other institutions that are spreading this. So what that look like in the natural? As it looks like there obviously has to be 21 people that she's empowered. Those actual 21 other people are empowering people. So the model of Every Girl Wins is being lived out through the model.
Mm-hmm. And I am not an NGO. A lot of people think I'm an NGO. I am not an NGO. You know, I teach that. I am not an NGO, and no one else should be either. These girls need to know how to thrive on their own and survive on their own.
Good.
Wow. Profound.
Gets no better.
Thank you. Thank you.
Professor, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Truly a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Christine, for changing lives across the globe. And I see the impact you're making in Africa, in Uganda, in Kenya, and Zambia, and lots of other countries. And I do know people that have been personally transformed by the work that you do on the African continent. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you, His Royal Highness and Chancellor Michael. Thank you.
Wow.
Oh, yes, well, it is powerful. I guess it's my turn now.
Yay.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce this man here. This man is humble. In my opinion, he always underscores himself. So I get the ability to tell you how amazing this man, Professor Chancellor Basingye. This is a man that has single-handedly took on a mission to open the eyes of the world to actually greatness. He is the founder of a new concept, a civility humanitarian. That's a humanitarian that's helping people, and he loves the people that they're helping. This is a man that's established an institution, Greatness University. This is a man that has Greatness TV. This is a man that has more scientific degrees in front of his name than the whole alphabet. And you have the power today to hear this great man, Chancellor Michael. Again, I introduce you to none other than one of your Searcherdemics that is one of the most humble men that knows so much, but he makes everybody feel big when they're around him. Professor Basingye.
Yes. Well,
Thank you so much for the honor and the introduction, and actually the opportunity to share my life and my experience with our audience today. Thank you.
Thank you, Chancellor.
So, Professor Basingye, something that will always stick with me and I will always use when I talk about Searcherdemics is your story of your education experience. And when you were, quote unquote, at the end of that education experience, the realization that you had after you had all of these degrees. It's one of my favorite stories to tell. But please introduce yourself, maybe share a little bit about that story, and then we'll go from there.
Well, thanks so much. Maybe I'll start from the story. Actually, all along, for most part of my life, I've been researching, and I've been researching about different things, learning about educational theories and concepts and paradigms, researching war, researching disability, researching education in Africa and globally. But the key word there is research. What that means that I was looking at information which is already out there and reading the information and putting it in my own words and potential with the hope of finding something new or creating new knowledge, and then going around, going down into the world and changing it. So I did my PhD in special education at the University of Exeter in the UK. It's one of the top in the world, possibly among the top 150 universities in the world. So at the very end of my degree, and when I was graduating with my PhD, my chancellor at that time, Baroness Florella Benjamin, said, "Patrick, go and change the world." So I didn't really realize and grasp the magnitude of that statement on my graduation day, not until a year after I had left. So, okay, how am I going to change the world? I've done my PhD, I've written my thesis, I've passed it. How am I going to change this world? So one time, I think this was the Holy Spirit Educator. That's where the Searcherdemics starts. The Holy Spirit Educator actually said, okay, all along we've been researching about other things. But have you searched yourself? So there's a massive, that's kind of, if you want to use the Latin or the Greek word, or Latin Greek, metanoia, which is in a way a complete turn of events, because from researching about the other to searching the self, of which not many people do that, because they will continue learning about physics and going on to become top physicians, learning about nursing and going to become nurses, learning about biology and any other discipline, law and becoming lawyers and so on. But when it comes searching about the self, it's very rare. And that's where the God's education system starts there. Searching of the self. Who am I? And that's why Professor Michael said at the beginning that the Searcherdemics starts with that question, asking yourself, who are you? So I did have to do that complete metanoia and do search about myself. And then I discovered, and actually my story, most of it is written in my first book, my titled 7 Steps to Greatness. And one of the key discoveries was a greatness within me.
Yes.
The greatness within me, which makes me great. And the discovery as I searched myself is that greatness is the greatest reality that powers every human being to do great things. And that's why Professor Michael in her book says this is God's education system. Why? Because the God within each one of us that is powering us to do the great things. And that one of the things they've done is conceptualize this information in what they call the greatness code. In the greatness code, they talk about the different dimensions of greatness. Inward greatness, the turn to the self, and discovering who that person is, who I am, the turn to the other, and discovering who that other is and how I can help them become better in their lives. The turn to the upward, or turn towards up, and discovering where does my power come from, where does my greatness come from, and having that back and forth conversation with the greatest reality and being able to continue doing the great things. Of course, I've always had that question, oh, where do you get your power from to do the things you do? Who are we affiliated to? But now we know clearly that that validation, that affiliation is directed from above. It's not from the physical material reality, but the spiritual reality that validates all that we do and who we are and what we ought to be. So that is simple. That's a quick introduction of what I do. Now let's start the big thing.
Wow. You know, one thing I love about what you said and you shared, so I could ask you, what is your searcherdemic philosophy and its greatness? But what you said is you took that idea, which we validate, but you conceptualized it. And that is the putting it into action. So it's no longer theory, so that others can receive from your idea.
Yes.
You conceptualize the idea and you're publishing books. You're honoring the greatness in others. So you're being a living model, a living example of this great idea from God. Go ahead.
And see what I see in this as well is you have created an actual ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
You actually realize greatness. You've created a culture of greatness, a culture of a civility humanitarian that is someone that is excelling in the greatness culture, helping humanity. So what you've done is phenomenal. You've established a university. You are the father of civility humanitarianism.
Mm-hmm.
These and you've actually merged it to establish a new way of looking at the world and how to help.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks so much. Actually, it just gave one side of the coin, which is a greatness coin side, but there's as well the other side, which is the civility humanitarian side. So what happens when you discover yourself? What happens when I discover myself? What happens when I go and help others? What happens when I am in a good relationship with others, with myself, with God, with what happens then? What do I become? And that's why the civility humanitarian drops in, the other side of the coin. Whereby you see the actualization, when you're asking the question, who am I? Everyone actually should be answering the question, I am a civility humanitarian. That should be more or less the answer, because that's what we discover, that this is a person who has discovered themselves. This is a person who has discovered the greatness within them, and that greatness, you can't be great by yourself and for yourself. You have to be great for others. And that's why you go into your community and transform it. And that's why we have those great examples of some of the such academic philosophers that we've talked about, how they're changing lives. Other than that, what's the point? If you can't use what you've been, or the revelations that you've got to transform the world, what's the point?
Wow.
So that is what civility humanitarian is, the ability to go and transform your community, help others, be a selfless servant. I know some people don't like the word servant. I remember saying so someone who had just provided me with a service, and I said, thanks so very much for your service. I said, never say that word to me. You think I'm a slave and kind of thing because they associate the word servant to a slave. No, really. I don't think the origin of that word is to do with slavery and history of slavery. No, it's the ability to give of a service, to do something for others without expecting anything in return. And that's service. And that's what it was. And that's what we really celebrate, human beings. And we've searched and written about different civility humanitarians of greatness, including Mama Sarah Obama and some other ones which we are already searching on at the moment and writing and making sure that if that person leaves this world, then we are left with their footprint. We are left with a story on how the Spirit of God has worked in their life. And that is touching, because no other university out there is going to do exactly what we do, that we're looking at human beings, We're looking how they've walked with God step by step and documenting that for the future
Wow.
generations so that they can learn from those examples of those great lives. Thank you.
And, if I can interject here, Chancellor Basinge, you're a humble man. When I travel through the world, people that don't know their history, where they came from, are doomed to repeat the negativity of it.
Mm-hmm.
Greatness University is going to allow those footprints to become stairs that people can step on to climb higher and not have to repeat cycles because individuals don't know who they are.
Wow. Thank you. I have to add that in my book. Footprints, they should become stairs.
Wow, I love
Stairs too. Great.
Wow. And I love what you said. Where else can you do this? Really, again, the creation of Searcherdemics came from a need. We were seeing all these people, great people with great ideas giving back to humanity. And it's a validation. It's a validation. Every person we've spoken to today, it's a validation. And your Greatness University is an affiliate institution with United Graduate College and Seminary. We proudly say that. And we're excited for what Professor Basinge is doing, what he's created. He's literally, I love, when people are gone, if there's greatness in 7.8 billion people, when we miss one story, we all miss out. Because there's so many diverse issues in this world, and each person is given a solution. We need those solutions. So this is your way of giving back, and I love that. I love that you are documenting too. You're not just talking; you're documenting these stories that will last forever, and that's powerful. Thank you so much for what you're doing.
And thank you for the opportunity to be able to work with the UGCSI to really change lives. Thank you.
Man, let me kind of sum this up. People that are watching the book, The Birthing of Searcherdemics, the God Education System, this is fruit that of this actual learning system that Chancellor Michael Pitzel has created. This is evidence and results of people who and I please listen to what I'm saying. You get education much longer than your 12th grade education. If you graduate with a PhD, that's not your last day of learning. And as Searcherdemics helps you learn your entire life. Say if you graduate college at actually 30 with your PhD and you live to be 80, you mean to tell me those 30 years of education is what's going to be the education that carries you for the next 40, 50 years? No, it's a stepping stone. Searcherdemics, God's education system. That's why I'm so honored that our Chancellor, Dr. Michael Pitzel, has taken time to actually blaze a new trail. And people, her story has not been easy, but she walked a path that no one else had the courage to walk. So this book will open your eyes to a new way of learning, to help you learn every day of your life, because the Holy Spirit is teaching you every day. He's bringing education. And I'm grateful now that the world has been awakened to a new way of learning. And this is a new paradigm. This is a new life skill that every individual in the world knows, but has to be awakened to it. So thank you for actually birthing God's education system, Searcherdemics, Chancellor Michael Pitzel.
Wow. Thank you so much. And I'm humbled, I'm honored. And thank you, Professor Basinge, for hosting. And thank you for doing what you're doing, being bold. Did you want to add to that?
Oh, yes, I did want to add on that we going to welcome Professor Rutter
Oh,
to
yay!
the stage, and then we will they go live from
Trinidad and Tobago.
From
Trinidad.
Trinidad and Tobago. Professor Glendon Rutter, I'm so glad you're here. Professor Glendon Rutter from Trinidad Tobago, but he works globally, and he is the chancellor, and he is Searcherdemics. He is a professor, and his institute is Human Equity Value Institute. Brilliant man, honored to work with him. Your Royal Highness, do you want to say there's
Of
so
course,
much
of
to
course.
say?
When you have Glendon Rutter,
Mm.
Dr. Glendon Rutter, Chancellor Rutter, you have someone that he personally inspires me.
Mm.
He's been a key component at times in my life that comes in and brings what God is saying. His actual human equity value will become a new human right.
Yep.
And this man's mind, I'm telling you, we're honored to have Hevis as a part of our United Graduate College and Seminary. And what I want to tell you briefly, Chancellor Michael has not been easy on Professor Rutter. No.
I love you.
They've gone at it. And what happens, I can tell you today, we are proud of what he's doing, and his institution can work with us every day. So, Chancellor, over to you with this legend, Glendon Rutter.
Yes, I want to stop talking so that we can hear from this brilliant man. So, yes. Professor Rutter, Searcherdemics, how has it changed your life?
Well, good evening to everyone and everyone that is looking on. Dr. Clyde Rivers, His Royal Highness, it's a pleasure to be here. And to you, Dr. Michael, Chancellor Michael Pitzel, blessed good evening to every single and all the professors. I was listening to everyone while I was en route mobile, and just blown away by what everyone had to say, especially Professor Chris. I mean, everyone. Such valuable contributions that all are making to the world. Searcherdemics. I thought about that, and I was thinking, how do I really explain that, diplomatically, but I had to come down to earth. I had to very simple. I remember looking at Facebook. There was a video that these people show so much a care to homeless animals, and they saw this dog. It was shivering in the cold. I mean, very cold, very, so you can see the emotions in the dog's face. And they brought this dog in, and it had a home. They fed it. They took care of all the health issues and everything. And Searcherdemics is like a home for human equity value. It's a home for every girl wins. Everybody needs to feel at home somewhere. And the world does not facilitate what we do. The world does not facilitate what we do. It's not ready for it because we are way beyond the world. So the world cannot become a home. And it just reminded me of the word that says, I had a problem with that, especially in my country. I live in a beautiful country, but they just watch on. If it's local, we're not going to pay attention to it. And human equity value needed a home. We found that home in Searcherdemics, in United Graduate College and Seminary International, and so an ICN, if I should add that. And let me tell you, the word that says, what saved me and what brought me into a place of comfort was the word that says, be ye not conformed to this world. I did not know I was looking for conformity. I did not know that what I was doing was based on conforming to the world, conforming to my nation, conforming to the politics, conforming to the culture. And that could not do, because what I was able to produce in human equity value, I cannot take that searcher model and conform to the world. It would not work. What I had to do was to be transformed by the renewing of my thinking. And Searcherdemics helped me to transform my thinking, to move me from conformity to transforming. And
Mm.
so that is, well, when I think of Searcherdemics, I think of be ye not conformed to this world. Because Dr. Pitzel said when she looked in the dictionary for academic and what it meant, well, I did it too. I'm like a Berean. I went to the dictionary and I saw a different version. I saw an academic is someone who is well learned but lack any practical experience. And I made up my mind. Sorry, I'm going to say something. What utter foolishness did I just read?
Yeah.
And I made up my mind. I do not want to be an academic. Why would I want to be an academic? Why would I want to be so learned but lack any practical experience? I don't know if what I'm going to do is going to work. So I I looked at it and said, my God, I don't want to be an academic. If there's one thing I don't want to be in my life, it's an academic. I want to be, and I am a searcherdemic. That's who I am. A searcherdemic has given me an identity, not just for my concept, but I'm talking about for me as a human being. I thought academic was something you do, but when I looked at it with academic, it is someone, which means to me a searcherdemic is not just something. A searcherdemic is someone. I am a searcherdemic.
See what I mean, people? Amazing. Oh my goodness. So please tell us, what is human equity value?
Human equity value, and this is what Dr. Rivers meant. This is what Dr. Rivers meant by Dr. Pitzel didn't take it easy on me. I tried to express this so many times, and she said, no, that's not it. Go back. I came again. She said, no, that's not it. Go back. And I said, what does this lady want me to do, man? And she said, you have it right there. You just have to find it. And I came up with this. Human equity value is the recognition, the consideration, the protection, and the procurement of human value and their equity entitlement. We live in a world today where human value is being replaced. What I call human value replacement. Human value replacement is that they're replacing it with computers, not that we don't need computers, with artificial intelligence, and so many things are replacing human equity value, not recognizing without human value, you cannot have all these sciences and we can't have these things. It takes a human being and the value that they contribute to humanity to really bring. Why now remove and replace human value from the equation when it was human value in the first place that brought these inventions into the equation? The world is crazy. The world is really, really crazy. And so what we are doing is that we are an institute that is not just providing a new education model in searcherdemics, but we are also advocating. We are also advocating. We are also consulting. Like today, I purchased looking for a good product, a good laptop to do my training with my students. They're about to graduate in the next 2 weeks. They're about to graduate in September, and it's awesome. And already we have students waiting for the new semester to begin. And look, I need to get myself a brand new laptop to do stuff with, and record and everything. And I purchased one online from a local company, I'm not going to name the company, but a local company. I purchased it online, and it will be delivered to my door. And I find that was so good. I don't have to go out in this pandemic and mask up and stuff. And 3-4 days have passed, and I decide to investigate what is happening. And I saw that they have a backlog, and my order is still pending. And so they cannot tell me when I would get my product. It could be next year. It could be what? Because so when I spoke, I said to the person in the delivery department, I know it's not your fault. You're doing a tremendous job in customer service, and your human relations is good, but your company lacks human equity value.
Mm.
And she was taken aback because she didn't know what I was talking about. So I said, you want me to give you information if I have to cancel my order and get back my money? Because you guys recognize economic value, but you're not recognizing my human value. So I'm not getting equity that I deserve. But
Mm.
you're getting my money. So you want to take my information, but I'm not getting no information from you. Here what's going to happen today. I want information from you. I need to speak to your supervisor. I need the name, I need the number, and I need to know what time you're opening and so forth. So she patched me through to her supervisor, and we had a talk. And to cut a long story short, we had a talk, and I said to her, you know, I want to do business with you because you got good deals, but you are somewhat disingenuous. And because of that, you have not recognized the human value of everyone who has put forth their order. Because we don't know when we're going to get our products. It's a backlog. My order is still pending. You cannot tell me, you're the supervisor. You cannot tell me, you cannot give me a definite response. My time value is wasted. My human value is wasted, but you got my money and you got economic value and you are good for it. But that's not going to happen today. So I'm going to give you some options. So I took over. I'm going to give you some options from a human equity value basis. What you're going to do, speak to your management. You need to restructure your entire human resource department, your entire human relations department. And I said to the supervisor, you spoke about your e-commerce department is in shambles. I said, I can fix your e-commerce department.
Mm. Wow.
So you need to take information from me and get to your manager. What's your manager's name? She said the manager's name. Take my number, take my website, take my email, and let your manager know that she needs Dr. Glendon Rutter of the Human Equity Value Institute
Yes.
to come and fix the
I
e-commerce
love it.
department
Oh
because
my God.
I said you guys failed in e-commerce. Your human relations department, though it was efficient, and your human resource, it has really caused the company to flop right there. You need to fix it. You need to fix it quickly, and I have the solution.
See that you have the solution.
Oh my goodness.
You've restored people's jobs through this.
Oh my
You're advocating
God.
for a human equity value. Jobs have been restored. Is that correct, Professor Glendon?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
That happened, and I had to write a letter
Mhm.
to the legal department of the health sector, the health sector, the national health sector in this country. The legal department was investigating this young lady, and we wrote a letterhead, the Human Equity Value Institute. And when they read the letter, the CEO and the legal department asked, who are these people? It's not a union, because they have a union. She did not go the union way. She came to Human Equity Value Institute. And so we advocate for her human value, and
Yes.
they took her human value into consideration. They did not have a choice to, and they restored her job. They moved her to a different department, and it was just a done deal. It was fixed. Another person, her supervisor, keep finding fault. She was doing the best that she could in her job. They wrote her a letter. I read the letter. I mean, that would break me. It was like a done deal. I am fired. And she wrote a letter back to them, and I said, this letter cannot do. We need to restructure this letter. And I began to put in the human equity value concept She sent that letter. She is still working. The supervisor that want her fired, he left the job. Other people were relieved of their duties because of the pandemic, but they kept her. She is
Wow.
still working.
Wow.
She's still working. So that's what we have been seeing, and it's just a wonderful thing.
Wow.
Man.
Incredible. Go ahead, Your Highness.
Dr. Rutter, we have to do another show with you.
Yeah.
This is too much.
Mm-hmm.
It's human equity value is a philosophy, but it's living in a person.
Yeah.
And I can say every searcherdemician is a walking embodiment of what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And Dr. Rutter, Chancellor Rutter, Unlimited Rutter, man, we're just honored to work with you.
Can I say just one more thing?
Yes.
Can I say just one more thing? In 2019, Dr. Rivers is so radical. Mm-hmm. And this man is a radical king. I don't know if they know what they did when they appointed you a development king, the radical king. And on my way to Israel, he prophesied that I would go back to Israel. And on my way to Israel, I was flying through Ukraine. And in transit to Israel in Ukraine, he appointed me the advisor for ICH nations for Israel. For Israel. And there's an organization that began in Israel that has the power and the potential to affect the very environment of Israel, of Jerusalem in particular. And I introduced human equity value in Jerusalem. And one of the rabbis, I'm talking about the rabbis from the Sanhedrin. The Sanhedrin rabbi said, this is the best presentation we've heard in the conference. So when I was there and moving on to 2021, now the founding principles of the 70 Nations organization in Jerusalem, part of it has a big chunk of the philosophy of human equity value in the founding principles. And they are wanting to have an educational institute, and they would want me in the future to come in and lecture on human equity value in Israel. The thing about it, in 2017, Dr. Rivers said, Dr. Rutter, you are God's apostle to Israel and Jerusalem. I thought that was the craziest thing somebody said. I could understand you say I am that to this place, but to Israel, no, that's too far-fetched. But God has brought it to pass, and I am part of the structuring of what that would be. There's another rabbi that have daily online shows. And he is a professional in national security and so forth. He is depending on me to bring human equity value to Jerusalem. So this is great, it's big. I just had to let you know that.
It's good fruit. Thank you.
Powerful. Thanks so much, Professor Rutter, for bringing human equity to humanity. I'm going to bring the other two professors to join us so that we can make the closing comments. And then we end this summit. Thank you.
My goodness.
Yes.
My goodness, man. You guys, there's none like you in the world. Wow. Chancellor Michael, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. And I love what Professor Rutter said, that Searcherdemics is a home. Absolutely. It is a home. You are welcome here. Your ideas are valued. Your ideas are creating. We will push you in your ideas to make them the best. So it is an honor, again, to have all of the Searcher professors, the Searcherdemicians on board today. Thank you again, Professor Basinge, for hosting on a great platform, perfect platform for the greatness here. Thank you, Your Excellency, for being a special guest. You impact the world, and you came to us today, and we are grateful to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And is it possible for everyone to give a parting word?
Yes.
Dr. Christine, we'll start with you.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, Professor Busingi, again, for hosting it, His Royal Highness and Chancellor Michael. I mean, you two, when I first met you two, Every Girl Wins wasn't even born yet, And to be a part of this organization with such great leadership and world changers, I mean, it's absolutely phenomenal, because what I love so much about it, we get to bounce ideas off of one another. We get to see what each other's missing to be able to grow even more.
Wow.
Thank you. Dr. Chris Green, Professor Green.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. I just really blown away by what's happening. I'd like to say something to all who are watching, who this sounds a little bit strange to hear words like searcherdemics, because we've all been groomed in words like academics. I want to echo Professor Glendon. I don't want to be an academic, all this knowledge and no theory. But it's been an amazing journey. Dr. Rivers came into my life and my wife at one of the lowest points in our walk and in our journey. And he actually gave us a challenge. He said he offered us the opportunity to enroll in United Graduate College Seminary International. He gave us an option of 2 routes to take, and we chose gave us the cost of what it would be. And my wife and I chose the more expensive route, because we saw it as an investment to be able to have the greatest impact in our community. And I'll never forget the moment when I told Dr. Rivers, we're on board and we're going to go for the master life coaching program.
Yeah.
And he turned and he pointed his finger at me and he said, that is great to hear. Now go and change your community. And from that moment to right now, it has been just the most amazing journey. And we're so glad, Dr. Rivers, that you challenged us to really go for it, that God had given us something that was real. When you met us, my wife and I were serving in another ministry. And he said, great, I love your service, but there's something that's in you. And I'm calling on that thing that's in you. And so I want to say that to whoever's watching today, we're calling on that thing that is in you to come forth.
Wow. Glendon, Rutter, thank you, Professor Green.
It's just really wonderful just to be here. Thank you, Dr. Michael Pitzel, for coming in and doing a session with HEVIS students. Everyone felt now that human equity value was just no longer a subject. It became part of their humanity. It became animated. It was brought to life. So they were not just learning a topic, they were learning something about themselves. It became part of our humanity, and thank you for that. And Dr. Rivers, I mean, speechless. There's no words. When we met in 2014, but we thank God. I thank God for you. And just to say that the folks, they belong to an institute. They belong to a family. They're not just going to pick up and leave, but they belong to the Institute of Human Equity Value. They are fired up to take their education and now begin to work on policy making. And we would need help in that area from you, Dr. Michael, Dr. Chris, all of you. We would need help. These students don't want to just get a certificate and go. They are ready to create and form a policy, a real policy. So when they graduate, they are looking to come back and begin to form a policy of human. We need help where that is concerned. So I'm just putting that out there. Yeah. We are not done yet. We are not done yet.
All right. I see it.
Thank you.
Come on. Okay. Man, Dr. Rutter, thank you. Professor Patrick.
Thanks so much for giving us this opportunity to share our ideas, share our stories. Yes, all centered around searcherdemics. And actually, as everyone was speaking or thinking about the culture of the country come from, which is Uganda. So in Uganda, I remember we used to do the arts and crafts as a subject in secondary. There we'll get things and we'll be able to make mats, even making footballs actually using banana leaves and
What?
make baskets. So sometimes you could find yourself that most of us were busy making or weaving things, creating things, well, making things, but we don't know really what that needle is. The needle that we're using to, for example, weave a piece of cloth or a sweater. And I can see Searcherdemics being the needle that we're using to weave
Wow.
what we are creating. Searcherdemics being the needle that, yes, we might not be aware, we might not what how it's called, but now United Graduate College and Seminary has given us the vocabulary, what that needle is, so that we'll be able to make a very good pattern of our lives and come up with a very beautiful product at the end. And that is what we're about on this summit and all the coming summits on Searcherdemics. Thanks so much, Professor Michael Pizzo, for creating this great paradigm and way of thinking, and definitely to transform lives so that we can be able to come up with very beautiful lives with very varied patterns and to color the world.
Yes.
Living. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank you so much. And thank you to all our viewers wherever we've been. And it's been the Searcherdemics Summit 2021, and there'll be more other series coming about the Searcherdemics and presenting our work and our discoveries on what we are searching for. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.